Welcome to SMU. I am Bob Gregory, and I am the chairman of the Roy M. Huffington Earth Science Department, named for Roy M. Huffington, who was an alumnus of SMU in the 1930s. His mentor was Claude Albritton, who joined the faculty in the 1930s, and it was an undergraduate at SMU. Huffington got a PhD at Harvard, and then joined Humboldt Oil, which was later taken over by what's now ExxonMobil. In his 40s, he decided to form Huffco, which was an independent oil company that discovered oil in the Philippines. Roy Huffington was the first oil man who let the host country take 51% controlling interest of its own oil. And for those efforts, the Seven Sisters tried to drive him out of business. He was successful anyway, and later went on to become the ambassador of OPEC, appointed by George H.W. Bush. Huffington and Albritton were lifelong friends with Everett DeGolyer, who was another oil man that was associated with SMU, and we have a library named for DeGolyer. DeGolyer was also a Renaissance man and a bibliophile, and so there is a DeGolyer collection in the SMU library. The point here is that we've had a long and illustrious history in the Earth Science Department, and so naming it the Roy M. Huffington Department was completely appropriate, and we've been endowed now for the last 11 years. Geology is a great subject to be involved with. We now call it Earth Science, and sometimes it's called Earth and Planetary Science, and I'm holding in my hand a rock from Africa, which is an iron meteorite that's 4.5 billion years old. I have another rock that doesn't look very pretty, but it's actually a rock from Northwest Africa, which is called a chondrite, and it has inclusions of carbonaceous chondrite in it. So it's a breccia, it's a mixed rock, and so this is the rocks that were forming when planets were condensing. And so geology, by virtue of our study of meteorites and planetary science, has actually now become a subject that addresses everything from the cosmic abundances of the elements, some of which formed in the Big Bang, to humans controlling the future of the planet in what we now call the Anthropocene, the time of Homo sapiens. Geology, if you look at me, I'm a typical geologist, and so there is a window now where we're having a generational change. So it's a great time to major in geology. We offer degrees in the Bachelor of Arts, in the Bachelor of Science. We've streamlined our program recently so that we just give 2 degrees, but we have specializations so that you can tailor your degree to your interest. And these interests can be geophysics, they could be paleontology, they could be environmental science, environmental studies, and so you get an undergraduate geology degree. The degree requirements are basically minimums. You should try to get the broadest education you can here at SMU. We strongly encourage emphasis in physics, chemistry, biology, and math as to go along with earth science. Computer science and earth science are almost co-evolving fields. Most of the major advances in computer science in the early days were all driven by the need to process large data sets, driven by seismology. SMU has a very good seismic program. An undergraduate named Ashley Justinick Howe did an undergraduate thesis on induced seismicity, one of the first studies in North Texas, and later completed a master's degree. She now has a career as an investment advisor or an analyst. Many opportunities for undergraduates. We're sitting here in White Rock Creek, and a recent undergraduate just completed a senior thesis on the faults, one of which is exposed behind me or at my feet. And what we're seeing here is a manifestation of climate change. Basically, the channel is widening because of anthropogenic climate change and the fact that the storm intensities have gone up over the last 40 years. And so we're seeing the channel widening by flooding. Right now, we're seeing about 30 cubic feet per second of water flowing down the creek. When this thing floods, it gets something like 20,000 cubic feet, and we're now having 50 or 100 years floods almost every year. So the point here is that geology is a field that can deal with cosmology, it can deal with the environment, it can deal with man's place in the cosmos. So I strongly encourage you to consider all of the possibilities for earth sciences as part of your future at SMU.